Dan Hutt, this is Fantastic Worlds, welcoming you back to a Lovecraft country in the Secret World Interludes, and this time around we'll be heading towards the front lines. That is the area where the island is under direct attack. Now, it may seem odd for me to say this because the island is all under attack in all directions, but this one is a little different. Now, if you recall from the lore of the king of Solomon Island, what happened is a mist came in and then it drew all the townspeople in, and then they became zombies and came back and attacked. But that's not what happened here, as you can pretty much tell by the dead bus and all the other vehicles here. This may sound a little odd, but you're going to notice something here on Devore Bridge is that these are all bodies, not zombies, which means this happened before the mist, which may sound a little weird over here at this picnic spot, but well, this must have been where they were stopping. And where... Pick that path out later. Anyways, yes. And where they ran from, heading north. Now, the reason they would head north is because just north of here is a military camp. Now, of course, you might think these guys are parachuting in again after the main attack, but this isn't actually the case. If you recall from my bonus episode, The Vanishing... God, I forgot his name. Anyways, the bonus episode, I'll put a link up there. Vanishing of Tyler Freeborn, thank you. Tyler pointed out that both this camp and the Orochi camp were here before the mist, and they went into lockdown just before it happened, and this is the reason why they went into lockdown, because they were attacked. Now, as you can see, all these bodies didn't animate, so it happened before the mist happened, or these things would have gotten up and come attacked up there. So this was a physical attack, and you can see the remnants of the physical attack down here. Excuse me, sir. Beach is closed. Threw up on me. Great. Anyways, as we were saying, you can see that some of the strike force is in fact down here. You have a lot, like you have the Durek Slaver here. Excuse me. Well, as well as the standard breeders, one of the lords here controlling it. And as you can see, one of the giant mollusks that, excuse me, just taking a few out in the way there, that infest the entire land. Now here's where you can get a really good look at them, and you can see they're actually a giant creature that is burrowing like into the earth, like a barnacle into the side of a pier. But this one's about 1,000,000 times bigger and a lot more meaner. Now the thing is, it seems to be tended to by these sea weavers, which means this thing was created after the initial invasion. They started growing it here as well, it may sound a little odd, but this thing produces more mist. As we went over in the quarry mission, which I'll post up there, these things reach down into the filth below the ground and spew up all mist. Now this one's not throwing up a lot right now. You have to go to the one in the center to really see it happen. Excuse me. I just really can't deal with these guys. Oh, yeah. And this over here, some poor fisherman who's here during the initial attack, and as you can see, he didn't get very far. Gods, guys, that's just disgusting. There's no reason to kill a fisherman. Anyways, but as you can see, the primary invasion was here. Now, the military put itself up there on the ridge. Just a second, I'll get to it. Now, of course, the military is going to place itself at a point where it's trying to interrupt these guys from getting their objective. And what is their objective? We'll get back to this building in a bit. Their objective is the Blue Mountain Mine, because that's what contains the Gaian engine that Loki wants to take for the Dreamers. He thinks he's taking it for himself, but he's actually mind-controlled. Yeah, as you can see, the miners have been brought up as a strike force to hold their holdings, as it were. But as we both know, the military, from the mission before, the military wasn't terribly good at their job because they're being commanded by these idiots. But the Sarge, who is a man of all action, few words, and less intelligence, and Ms. Karen Olsen of the Department of Homeland Security. Now, remember, in this timeline, it's 2012, so the Trump administration and all the questionable things you may have about the Department of Human Services in the current era have not happened yet. However, she'll probably annoy you. We should probably get to... Probably shouldn't, but we should, for the sake of completeness, get to know Ms. Olsen.
There Karen Olsen, Department of Homeland Security. This island has been placed under a state of emergency by presidential proclamation, and what this means is that I am in de facto control here. Me. I may not look the part, but I'm a highly experienced agent of the Office of National Paranormal Security Management and Intelligence, OMSNI, with almost 3 years in the field. I've been on the front lines of at least 2 potentially severe incidents, including that whole thing with the Kraken. I'm sure you've heard of it. It was pretty big.
Activity in this sector. Moving to pickup point.
Okay. Now, I have learned, through my experiences, that a person who rattles off their certifications like this tends to be relatively insecure in said certifications. They're looking for respect for what they've achieved on paper.
Of course, I work very closely with the armed forces, but I don't get engaged in any kind of military activity myself. I'm more of a coordinator, enabler, if you will. A pure management role, but on the ground, right here with the men, making sure our response is appropriate and immediate.
In other words, she's the bureaucrat getting in the way.
I'm exactly what this mission needs. Someone trained in the more esoteric, theoretical aspects of occult warfare. Someone who can advise the grunts, so to speak, and ensure that our homeland is protected.
Not that she's very good at the job. Oh, hi, dude. He's currently on another mission. Okay, tell me about the island, Ms. Olsen. What's the government's take on protecting Solomon Island?
I'm sorry, this area falls under the jurisdiction of the Department of Homeland Security. I'd suggest finding another place to play. Somewhere with more bees.
Well, that's racist.
Wait, are you thinking about signing up for active duty? I'd call that a smart career move, seeing as how you're operating heavy artillery on American soil without the appropriate authorization. The armed forces could use a soldier like yourself, with the proper training, of course.
Considering my kill count, I don't think I require your training. Just to let you know, and since I work for the Illuminati, who essentially run the American government, that would be a step down for me. As bad as Illuminati is, it's probably not as bad as, working for the government.
You've all of you got potential, but the edges are rough, and your powers aren't being channeled in a very productive or legal manner. Frankly, you're a ticking bomb, a walking threat to the security of the United States of America.
Foreshadowing there. So we're about to be called a terrorist, are we? Patriot Act?
Lucky for you, we've got enough on our plate to deal with right now, but when the crisis has been averted, and it will be averted, I'd recommend for your own sake to either be wearing the right uniform or to cause chaos on another continent entirely. Are we clear?
Oh, we're clear. Problem being is that, hey, tell you what, if the end of the world gets delayed, we'll talk about it. Until then, try not to get yourself killed too soon.
A paranormal attack on American soil. Ab-terrorism. That's what we're dealing with here.
A term for that?
Your textbook Lovecraftian invasion from the sea by mutated humans with resurrective capabilities.
What textbook is that?
There are certain similarities to the whole Hamelin affair, though we haven't been able to detect any residues of magic pipes.
I happen to
We've
have...
received training in this exact scenario.
Wait. Who? What? This exact scenario. So somewhere in the Pentagon, they figured out the giant resurrective zombies are going to be coming out of the ocean. Your tax dollars at work.
Homeland Security is working closely with the armed forces to prevent any such incident from spreading past the initial stages. This is no different from what occurred off Cape Blanco last summer. Sure, it's a slightly bigger scale. We had the Kraken contained within 24 hours of deployment, but steps are being taken as we speak to contain and control. We don't have a lot of people on the inside, but on the outside, we've got the might of the American war machine ready to steamroll Solomon Island.
Well, yeah, they do, actually. Remember, when we go through the portals, we're going through time, so we're actually come here before the American military carpet bombs the island, despite the fact that we've temporarily gone past that point by going to Egypt. It's kind of confusing, but just think of our character as being disconnected from time, and you've got it.
We do a lot more than hassle travelers at airports. I hope you'll learn to appreciate that.
Yeah, you're going to be abducting kids and putting them in camps. Oh, whoops, that's the future. You're probably not going to be part of it. Okay, so yes, we have the military special forces unit here just staring at that. But my guess is that when the initial invasion occurred, they managed to repel it with heavy losses, which is why the Eldritch Abominations, the Dreamers, pulled back and hit them with the mist. Now, this is kind of weird, because that would mean that the invasion happened before Lady Margaret returned with Excalibur on it, which is kind of strange. Now, this is possible that the Margaret... Oh, that's right. Sorry. The Margaret showed up, and the Mist came a few days later. So these things followed the Margaret in, and the military knew that they were coming because... I don't know. Sometimes it gets confusing. The military in Orochi knew there were going to be invasion to try to take the mine, and thought they took appropriate steps, but were completely steamrolled. Excuse me. Now, the reason why I said they were steamrolled is because this is the point they were guarding, and frankly, if I had been in the military shoes, I probably would have put the camp here, but hey, what do I know? Now, there's a fire team that's stranded on the beach. We saw that during the original mission, and another one over here, but, like I said, the primary range of attack, the one currently being controlled by the undead here and the ghosts over there, are the quickest point of access to the Blue Mountain mines, which is why they chose that beach, not any other, to hit. It's the shortest route. Excuse me, that could be filth. Now, of course, there was another firefight here. There's a few survivors in that direction, but we already played with them. And as you can see, it continues up in this direction. Now, if you go further, excuse me, guys, through up here, we're in the Cobb nesting grounds. What the hell was that? We'll handle the Cobb later. Anyways, back through here. Now we're taking, as I said, they've secured it. They have golems, they're undead controlling the entrance, but the Gaian seals down below prevent them from going any further. Because remember, when you go into the mine itself, that there are, in fact, a lot of those things hanging around. So they have secured everything up to that entrance point. Now, what? Oh, for freaking crying out loud. Dude, back up, back up, back up, back up. Ew. No, I came in peace. I was just doing the tour, guys. Anyways. But yeah, they've secured the entire entrance, which means they basically steamroll past the military, and Orochi, well, did nothing, as we know they always do. Because Orochi's been playing everybody to lose, apparently, the way they're going. Anyways, but like I said, now that they've secured this location and gotten into the mine, they were waiting for us in the storyline, spoilers, you haven't gotten that far, to come and open the last seal for them to get Loki in. But, in the meantime, other points of interest during the attack. Now, up here on the upper ridge towards the quarry, there was another fire team designed to prevent, well, invasion from the right. But again, being only a few people against, you know, against a large horde, didn't do so well. This is the quarry. Now, this section right here was also digging into the city. My guess it was digging into the mountain. My guess, since it hit filth, I'm guessing that this was another Illuminati attempt to get to the Gaian engine down below. Because one of the things that the Illuminati has not explicitly said, but of course must be happening, is that they want the Gaian engine just as much as, well, Loki and any of the other players here, but they never mailed access. They're sealed from the mine, and they're probably hoping to use the quarry to dig beneath the seal. Now, the problem, of course, is that being, you know, Illuminati, and, we'll get to you in a bit. Excuse me. Skeleton crew. Not only a great pun, it's a right Stephen King reference. Yeah, they managed to strike something, because that entire pit is full of filth. And as you can see clearly here, this is where they're generating the fog. Now, that means that the original fog must have been airborne filth, but they're now attempting to make it thicker by accessing the filth here. Now, also, the filth strains are two different types. You learned that back in Tyler as well. And, like I said, excuse me. Come on, come on. Ah, dead. Sorry, I just can't help having a helpless kill. And this factory over here was to cover as well. Now, of course, it could have been a regular quarry, but I kind of suspect that we're talking about the Illuminati and its endless fascination with having pointless secrets. Anyways, the factory itself is nothing more than a gravel crushing quarry. Now, so we have a lot of... The filth itself appears to have animated several creatures out of it. Like... that thing. But most of them are pretty aimless. They're not being directed. They're just standing here guarding it. Because the filth, while it can animate, doesn't have much for a human intelligence. Huh. Guess that one's out to lunch. And as you can see, the buildings itself are an old, well, New England style, of course, since we are, in fact, in New England. But, as I was saying, this section right here is kind of just a regular buffer, and my guess is when the other soldiers came in, they probably ignored this and went straight up to the ridge where they were killed. Now, just give me a second. I'll get you over to that ridge. Okay, so here we are on the upper ridge overlooking the Blue Mountain Mine, and it appears that there's a firefight here, which the soldiers unfortunately lost. So my guess is they were... Excuse me. So yeah, looks like they were attempting to protect this entry point here and failed horribly. So yeah, the military sent a company approximately, which would be a maximum of 40 active troops, and frankly, against the immortal, regenerating hordes of zombies and abominations, post-humans, and ghosts, it didn't do so well. So, any case, let's skip over to the next section. Okay, so this is just north of the military camp and is kind of secondary to the battle itself, but since it's so close to the front lines, I'm including it. Welcome to not Arkham Asylum. Seriously, I'm not referring to the Batman one either. As you can see, it's a Cobb nesting point, and as you can see, a bunch of them are dead, and a bunch of dead soldiers too. So apparently, you know, not really having enough to do, they decided, excuse me, they decided to send a squad they couldn't possibly spare. Sorry, I'm not big on bugs. To fight a huge hive of Cobb. Never mind me. Anyways, this would have been the... Excuse me. Ugh. I got the sword up. This would have been the outdoor grounds for the... Ooh, missed one. Anyways, the outdoor grounds for the asylum itself, where you could keep the lunatics, as they probably were called when this thing was open. Because remember, this is yet another Illuminati front, where they keep crazy magical people and experiment on them, like I suppose I would have been put into if I was here. But those are the exterior grounds, with the park-like structures now overgrown, and here, of course, is the exterior fountain, which looks so... Excuse me. Which, of course, would have needed visitors. And then, of course, what would have been a palatial front entrance with the lovely tiled floor here. Excuse me. Apparently now overrun by a Cobb. I'm not quite sure why they'd overrun this section. I mean, I suppose the eldritch energies and such. Excuse me. I'm assuming the... Huh. Excuse me. I realized you could do that here. The eldritch energies could have attracted them, but it really could have attracted just about anything. But there's an entire hive here, and there's an mission when you're working for the military to clear it out, which is kind of weird, like I said, because the Cobb aren't actually making any moves against the soldiers. The entire thing the Cobb are doing is just guarding their nests, so once again, the U.S. military decides to get into trouble for the heck of it. Ah, but it is a lovely view up here. Excuse me, madam. And you can see the entire invasion point here. Yeah, the military is pretty screwed because that thing is probably the entire length of that bay, spewing up that stuff, gathering more and more of the dead and raising them. So, and last stop would be, of course, the obligatory Stephen King reference, the House. Well, pardon me. The names are the first names are references to the Pet Cemetery, which by the time of this recording is currently slated for a remake, which I will definitely not be seeing because the first one was just too awesome. But yes, this is the Turner residence, which everybody here became zombified in different ways, and you have one mission to clear it out, but it does kind of give a good show what a post-20th century old family home would look like. New England. Excuse me, Mr. Turner. Put you out of your misery. It has a lovely view, too. Unfortunately, that, again, with it being right in the front lines, caused it to become pretty overrun pretty quickly. And this is interesting in that this one was affected by the mist. So this one wasn't attacked in the initial strike. The initial strike was simply to run down this entire bay. Excuse me, I'm going to explode in a moment. And go in that direction, completely ignoring this house but not the bus down. Excuse me. They're not big on trespassers here. Anyways, yes, ignoring this house, but not that bus, and then just crawling up to the center to get into that direction. Past the asylum, past everything else, but then when the initial battle occurred, perhaps there was a first victory, which explained why the military isn't as, you know, panicked as they should be, because they won the first battle. They pulled it back, and then the Dreamers unleashed the mist and killed everybody, made an army out of them, and drove the military back, and have to now control the entire island. It's kind of a weird placement there, and it makes sense in context, but I always thought he was going to the bathroom when I ran past him first. Anyways, well, of course, the military, being the geniuses they are, stuck an entire another squad over here. I'm guessing they thought they could block the river for being an access point, but frankly, you'd need the freaking Navy to do that. A bunch of guys with guns, which is what we have here by the military radio in the body, couldn't, on this bluff, couldn't hold it either, especially against, a, you know, like that thing down there. So, yeah. And as you notice, there isn't a single Orochi body, so none of them helped. The thing is, if you look at Orochi's relationship with the government, it's basically to use the government as meat shields and, well, scapegoats when things go wrong. And that is a lovely sunset in that direction. So, yeah, not exactly surprising. But, again, this is actually more a typical zombie invasion. So this is a secondary attack, when all the people were evacuating that could evacuate. Now, remember, mist came and drew everybody away, but we have a lot of these pile-ups, so the success rate isn't nearly as total as Tyler Freeborn will in fact say it is, because when you come right down to it, there's like several hundred people, and we've had a few dozen that have been at least immune to it, so the effect is just kind of, you know, hit or miss. Maybe it has to do with some sort of psychic sensitivity, maybe it has to do with something, you know, a little more mysterious, or is the fact that we are, you know, just need all this lovely scenery to go by. But yeah, this is the front line section. Now, it's granted underwhelming at the moment, and I don't think the US military has the biggest presence in this story, but I think it had to be recorded at least. But we'll head over to the other half of this particular installment in just a moment. Here we are at the federal government's other agency. It's currently on the ground in Solomon Island, the CDC, Center for Disease Control, centered in Atlanta, and at the time of this recording still in existence, although sometimes I have my doubts. And as you can see, the sole individual left here for the CDC is Marilyn Chen. We should probably get to know her a bit and see what happened to everybody else, shall we? Tell me about yourself, Ms. Chen.
Behind this very expensive official government suit, I'm just a normal gal. Hopes, dreams, ambitions, faith in my superiors and my government. I had that before the fog, before I saw the filth, before I realized why they sent us here in the first place. All lies. Big, fat, stinky lies.
No, it is the government.
You'd think a government employee... a government employee would be trusted with the truth. But no. I guess it doesn't matter that you've dedicated your life to public service, that you risk your health and sanity in service of your nation. I have served. I have sacrificed. I have given so much, and all I wanted in return is to be trusted.
You are in the wrong job, I'm afraid, for that sort of thing.
Turns out our government is more likely to share their secrets with the private sector, with the Orochi group, than their own. What the hell does that say about our leaders? About our nation? About the future? I'll tell you this. I don't trust Orochi further than I can see through my visor. And with the amount of condensation and dirt buildup I'm dealing with, that's not far. Not far at all.
Now, the reason she has so much condensation is she has not taken that suit off since she got here. And remember what Tyler said earlier, is that the government, the CDC, and the military, and the Orochi group, which is a private sector working for the government, haha, supposedly, all got here before the invasion, which means she's been having that suit on before the filth-infected fog got here. So the question is whether or not she's infected or not, because we know from Tyler's that everybody here is infected who's breathed in the fog. She hasn't. And that's always been the big question, whether that air filter was enough to keep out a reality altering virus, and I'm going to say probably not. I don't think most suits are rated for that.
My team and I, well, not my team per se, more like Ernesto's team. Frank was his second in command. He's such a sycophant. Was a sycophant. I held up the rear, so to speak. Not the flashiest role, but an important member of our 3-man and a woman team. Anyway, my team was sent here to work with the Orochi to investigate the filth.
Okay, of course she's left behind misogyny deep within the government's ranks.
A couple of days later, the fog rolls in.
Right there, 48 hours.
This massive wall moving faster than storm clouds. Thank God we had our suits. Made us immune to the airborne agents. Ernesto, the idiot, bless his soul, took his mask off. His eyes just glazed over. His tongue flopped out and he started walking. We couldn't stop him. He just kept walking right down to the ocean, into the water, under the water. Next day, he came back up. It wasn't pretty.
Yeah, even 24 hours immersion in seawater will do that to you. But yeah, that answers it. That does actually work. So good on you, nameless government contractor, for creating an occult-proof gas mask.
But at least we'd survive the worst. Help would come. It was just a question of time. We were government employees. Leave no man behind, right?
Aha, says the veteran.
One touch. That's all it took. It seeped right through. The guys tried to fight it, but it took just seconds before they were tainted, transformed. I ran as fast as I could, as far as I could.
The question is, all right, so that she's saying is down here, is that these guys that we find infected down here among them were her team, but the suit is useless against liquid filth, but the air filter works against air filth. But that's not to be expected. Like we said with Freeborn, it's two different strains. The weaker strain is in the air, which is why people who breathe it are not transformed. Well, I've got my bee to keep me immune, of course. Why the people down there who are touching the more virulent form that's natural to the island. But yeah, let's continue the story.
It's spreading. I've seen it on trees, on vegetation, on animals.
On insects?
There was this raccoon the other day. It had glowing eyes, worms protruding from
Okay,
its
that could have
ears,
been natural.
black ooze leaking through the fur. It left wet paw prints on the ground, and right away the grass and ground were infected. The strangest thing of all, it was like I could see straight through it. And I could see stars. Dying stars.
Dying stars associated with dreamers. There, remember way back in episode 0 when you saw their realm, they had just nothing but dying stars within their realm. So anything created by them takes on that image. But anyways, Marilyn, keep going.
I know. It doesn't make sense. Oh, I need some sleep. It's not easy in this suit. But I am never taking it off.
Good on you. Alright, tell me what you know about the secret world.
I really believe you guys are our only hope. We have a name for you. Did you know that? Back at the CDC. The Bees. That's what we call you. Don't know why. And we keep records. There's a whole floor related to the
That's
Bees.
not good. I don't want to be in a government watch list.
I don't know what's there. I don't have clearance, but I can see now why we'd need a whole floor. If I ever get back home, that's what I want to work on. I want to pick you guys apart.
Hey!
Not literally, of course. I'm not talking autopsies or anything like that. And anyway, do you guys even die? I hear you're even immune to that.
Yeah.
Boy, I'd love to be a bee right now and buzz away.
Well, technically, I probably couldn't do that because of the mask, but I would advise taking it off. Odds are you get filled a lot faster. But yes, this is the CDC camp. It has lovely decontamination showers I like to use, which actually do work against the filth as well. Suits don't. Laptops, this must be where she lives. Plenty of water. Good, she'll last a while. Vans, although it seems to be a van for every 2 people. And my god, if it's a 4-person team, they set this up in a hurry. I don't think Orochi actually helped them, but speaking of the Orochi group, excuse me. Ugh. Okay. Speaking of the Orochi group, they're right across the river. The Nameless Bridge, which may be a reference to the Nameless, a Lovecraftian short story, or just a lazy developer, you decide. It's, however, even worse off than Chen is. Now, I've been back to this base several times, and trust me, I do not enjoy it. Hey, how's it going? Anyways, but as you can see, the entire security team has been infected. There's really no point in killing them off. They're just going to come back like I do. In case, remember, these things are our opposites. Now, the Orochi camp is surrounded by the drones, which are totally ineffective at doing much here. And it has the camp here, too. Now, the door is locked. I can either get in by jumping up on top of this thing and jumping across, or just taking this guy's... Oh, that's ugly. This guy's code, 0943786, 0943786, 0943786, 094... Oh, God. Hang on, I'll just take the freaking bus. Sometimes I just amaze myself with how quickly I forget things. Anyways, now that we've gotten through that razor-tight security, this is the Orochi camp. Yeah, that over there is one of the data storage ones. This one is the transmission tower. There are some drones in here that you do have to avoid with the... Now, I like to think of these things, these lasers aren't actually coming out, because that would be extremely stupid design even for Orochi. But the proper B sensors allows to detect where they can sense, which I would have put a 360 motion detector on these things because they're like useless. But as you can see, these have much better facilities than the military or the CDC, which is to be expected as it is a multinational corporation, and they don't seem to be doing a lot other than trying to experiment on them. Now, if you remember from the many missions I go through, if you go into any of these occupied tents, they will taser you and put you outside. I'm thinking the Orochi just don't bother killing you because what's the point? I'm just going to resurrect. So what you can do is come back here and put poison gas in the filters and the intakes and see what's inside. Now, the tents themselves have mostly specimens. This one holds specimen 0, which broke out and went into the quarry, which, was our mission getting it back, and you can see through here, as well as the smaller tents, each their own research, plus one of those damned helicopters. Now, the entire place has been wiped out, except for a few researchers hiding behind these walls, because nothing else is going to do. Their security staff is infected. They're not... The leader of Orochi has already told us he's not taking these people out. They're just waiting to starve to death, commit suicide, or be overrun. Oh, hi. Never mind me. So, with that cheerful thought... Ooh, can you get up there? I'd like to see... Oh, can we? No, damn it. I'd love to get the view up there. But in any case, it's a lot easier to get out. You just press the button. But I'm not going inside the tents because it's a pain in the ass and I've done it so many times. But I was going to note that, yes, the camp itself, you notice, is far and away from any of the objectives. The filth thing is over there, so that means that the creatures attack the CDC first and overwhelm them, while over there, the U.S. military had to take the brunt of the fighting. These guys just stood here, and they were so dumb they still managed to get infected. But this is Orochi's track record. And as you can see, the facility is nothing more than a shell of its former self being attacked by its own security personnel. Gods. Anyway, so the last CDC group. See, the thing is, apparently there were two teams, because Marilyn describes her one team, but there's a second one over here. The infected agents... Excuse me. The infected agents over here were of another survey team, and they got rickrolled, because this one died from violence while the others were infected. Now... Considering the ones that died from violence are here, these guys are infected, I'm just trying to figure out where that came from, because there's another invasion site over there that went right into the filth zone, but stopped. So my guess is once they secured the Blue Mountain Mine, they just stood here, and now they're trying to prevent, well, forces from the outside from interfering. This is a protective zone right now. And they're not fearing any of the agents inside because they've been pretty compromised. Only the bees are effective. Now, what's interesting, that means all the other sites where they're breeding are just backup points. I mean, anywhere from Kingsmouth Beach to the to the area outside of Reds, it's just reserve. They're making more and more and more. And we've seen several missions where they just keep dragging the zombies in the draw. The draw keeps dragging the zombies into attack, and we keep killing them. So in this endless, continuous battle... Excuse me. Ugh. Yeah, the platforming can be at least a lot to be desired. In this endless battle, we're just going back and forth. These guys have their objective. They've secured it. All we're doing is trying to keep them from total victory. So, a thing that may or may not be effective. But yes, this is the front line, the actual front battle, the first 48 hours where the attack was repelled by the US military, and then they just came in with a mist and rickrolled everything. So now that's over with in this section here. Next time we'll be probing more into the interior and the other secrets of Solomon Islands, Blue Mountain area in the next Interludes episode. I hope to see you there. This is Fantastic World saying farewell from Lovecraft's country in the Secret World Interludes.
You will see the dawning of a new age. To be a monarch or a beggar. To lose everything or to become a god. To stand with us or against us. The choice is yours.